Once again, I'm the stranger.
And I am once again the thing.
And this is Stranger Things Season 4! Again!
It has been over a year since Netflix dropped Season 4 of Stranger Things, and almost 3 years since we wrote our own version of Season 4.
Which was better than the real season and featured such iconic lines as a rabid raccoon who hisses at him, and I'm not gay, the Mind Flayer's gay.
But that was the second video we ever produced, and we were but little babes then.
We did not know how to use any of our equipment, and also we broke our second mic 20 minutes in and have still never replaced it. Since then, we've gotten at least 30% better at making videos, and we've wanted to remake that video for a while to give it the production quality that it deserves.
And then I hyperfixated on Stranger Things last month and started writing Season 5, so we figured we should probably do this now while I'm already setting up a puppet theater anyway. And also so that when we do that video and we make so many references to this video, we can feel a little bit better about making people watch it. Our first one was so good, but so bad to watch.
So, with the power of our mutual brain disorders, we didn't know you were autistic when we did the first one.
Yeah, we didn't even know I was autistic then, which is insane.
So with the power of our mutual brain disorders, gay determination, and still overabundance of free time, we present to you a new and improved rendition of our original script for Stranger Things Season 4.
Also, we stand with the writers and actors on strike. This is in no way meant as promotional material. I don't think Netflix wants us to be making this.
No, it feels like us writing this script is actively detrimental to helping them get their thing back up and going.
Yeah, I tried to look at the guidelines for influencers because we're influencers, and it was very confusing, so just to be safe, we stand with the writers on strike. This is just for fun and me time.
We also want to do it to reminisce about that time we met working at Blockbuster.
Most of these are goosebumps.
We open with shots of Will at his new school. He is 15. He has a better haircut. It's gym class. Boys are playing soccer. He's not good at it, but he's trying to participate. He's just kind of standing and looking at the other boys longingly as they kick the ball back and forth without ever passing it to him. A kind boy claps him on the back and tells him he's doing better. Will touches his neck in a way that could be read as bashful.
After school, Will and Elle are picked up by Joyce. Elle is surrounded by a flock of weird little girls who think she is the coolest girl in the world. And they are right. They are all devastated to be separated from her for the next week.
It is the last day before spring break.
I swear to you, we had zero information about the real Season 4 at the time that we wrote all this, but we got a weird amount of things right.
So we will be keeping a tally.
And that's number 1.
Spring break.
Spring break, baby.
Will gets in the car and looks out the window at the boy from before, who sends him a quick smile before turning around and kicking off on his skateboard. Will watches him as the car pulls away. Elle is chatting with Joyce about how excited she is to see Max again. 'Cause they're going to Hawkins. Joyce notices how quiet Will is and asks if he's okay. She offers to stay home if he'd like her to, but he tells her he's just tired.
Jonathan is away at college. Because we thought he and Nancy graduated already, and we did not fact check when we were writing this.
I thought for sure.
So anyway, he's away at college. A thing we did not get right. He's at NYU doing photography and stuff, and for his photography portrait project, he was partnered with a boy in his class who I fan cast as Keenan Lonsdale.
And I realistically Duffer cast as Timothy Chalamet.
They had to take pictures of each other. He's worried that his pictures aren't good enough, but his partner assures him that they're great and shows him the pictures that he took of Jonathan and says how nice he looked in that lighting. And Jonathan bashfully brushes his fingers over the hair at the back of his neck.
Jonathan can't handle what's happening and gathers up his things, shoves his project on the teacher's desk, and books it. Before he gets out of the room, though, the boy asks if he's going to the party later. Jonathan replies non-committedly and returns to the privacy of his dorm room, where he pulls extra pictures of the boy from under his pillow, ones that were too tender to show anyone.
Steve's picking Robin up from school.
Another thing we got right.
It's the last day before spring break, because it's standardized.
It's standardized.
They listen to music, and it's fun, and they're best friends. They pull up to Robin's house, and she gets out. Should I be Robin and you be Steve?
Sure.
You know, lesbian, bisexual,
Yeah.
perfect. Thanks for driving me home.
It was on the way.
He watches as she walks up to her house and closes the door. Then he also gets out of the car, closes the door, goes into her parents' garage, and we realize that he also lives there. Her parents are letting him live in their garage because they think he's an at-risk gay teen.
That is the exact living situation we were in when we wrote this. Joyce drops off Elle at Max's house because Max's mom divorced her shithead husband, and this is now a safe and joyful home where only chill things happen. They run off together. And then we cut to the Wheeler's house, which is chaotic because they are 5 minutes late. And Mike is very worried about this. But then there's a car noise outside, and he rushes out the door, and there's Will! There's Joyce! Mike's weird mom chats with Joyce, and we learn through the dialogue that Will's staying here all week while Joyce runs an errand. An unspecified errand, and she'll pick him up at the end of the break when she's done. Mike is elated to have his best friend back. Will is still reserved, but trying his best to act like he's into it.
We cut back to Jonathan, amping himself up to go to a cool art school college party. He goes in and it's full of cool artsy people with dyed hair and piercings, and everybody's smoking clove cigarettes and listening to the talking heads and debating politics or whatever. He recognizes most people and they all like him casually, but he still kind of feels like he doesn't really have friends here. He has a pretty bad time until he runs into the boy from photography class. In his party clothes, he is gayer than he looked in class. Jonathan does not notice. They have a nice conversation, and the boy is clearly flirting with him. Jonathan is nervous, but doesn't really pick up on the flirting part of this. They almost kiss, and Jonathan runs off into the night. He gets into his car and seems to be psyching himself up as he turns the key and peels out onto the street.
Steve and Robin are getting high in the garage and watching a movie and ordering pizza. When the pizza comes, Steve jumps up to open the door, which opens like comically slowly because it's a garage door.
Like that shot in season 3 of Mr. Clark in his garage, but worse.
And we slowly see more and more of the pizza delivery person as we pan from feet to face with hot boy music playing to reveal a normal early 20s boy. We have fan cast KJ Appa.
But blonde.
Also, he doesn't have any lines because we don't have any money to pay him, which is a joke from the original video that might not have aged very well considering the SAG situation. Steve fixes his hair and tries to pretend he's not high. The boy is entirely non-responsive because he sees this 5 times a night. And then he leaves and the garage door shuts so slowly, and Steve stands there the whole time and then goes right back to hanging with Robin. Pizza time!
Pizza.
We follow Pizza Boy through the rest of his night making deliveries.
Will and Mike are doing slumber party stuff and having fun. Mike's mom let them order pizza. Mike is asking about Will's new school, and Will tentatively opens up about how he feels kind of lonely at his school, because Elle has a lot of friends and everyone likes her, but nobody really likes him. The other kids think he's weird, and maybe he is weird, and maybe it's okay to be weird, but sometimes he wishes he could just be,
the pizza's here! And when delivery boy rings the bell, Mike answers and Will peeks out over his shoulder, and Mrs. Wheeler peeks around him, and when Mike notices her watching, he makes a face and shuts the door like, God, Mom, no.
Mike's horny mom. We follow Pizza Delivery Boy to his next delivery at Max's house, where Elle and Max answer the door and grab the pizza, giggling. Pizza Boy rolls his eyes. He's used to this sort of thing. He delivers a pizza to Lucas's house, where Erica answers the door and Lucas and Dustin push her out of the way. New character who is a pizza delivery boy is our third tally.
It's such a specific thing, and it's weird that we got it right. His shift ends early the next morning, and as he drives home, he passes Jonathan, who is just getting back into town. We jump into Jonathan's car, where he's listening to music and anxiously tapping on the steering wheel. He parks down the street from the Wheeler house, which is now dark, as it is very late at night, and goes to stand beneath Nancy's window. He whispers her name and throws pebbles at her window until her light turns on and she comes to the window, clearly having been asleep.
Jonathan?
We need to talk.
Cut to Joyce, who is sitting at baggage claim in the airport. It's an airport. It's in Texas. Doesn't matter which one. She's in the baggage claim.
The sun is rising through the large windows behind her. A flood of people from the recently landed flight come through the doors. She stands up, craning her neck and searching through the crowd. She smiles when she finds the person she was looking for. Hand to Hopper, who is carrying a large duffel bag. He grins, cut to black.
End of episode.
And a 4th tally for picking someone up from the airport.
We got a lot of Goosebumps references in very early.
It is morning the next day. Nancy has finally come down to meet Jonathan, who she made sleep in his car, and she will not let him into the house. He looks rough. He tries to explain for several minutes about the things he's been feeling towards men, how he gets goosebumps when he's near them, and keeps having these dreams and he can't think straight.
She tells him this is because he's gay. He says he can't be gay. She says he is very clearly and obviously gay. Jonathan, you are literally wearing a Smiths t-shirt as we speak.
There are straight guys who like the Smiths, Nancy.
You're not one of them.
He kicks her out of the car and says that he's going to prove how not gay he is with the power of investigative journalism. He is unaware that his brother is also back in town and asleep upstairs in Nancy's house. Jonathan drives away, and we follow Nancy back to the Wheeler house, and when she opens the front door, Mike and Will come barreling out to go meet their friends.
The kids, Mike, Will, Lucas, Dustin, Elle, and Max, are excited to be together again, and they have a fun day running around the town. They pass by the graveyard and stop to spit on Billy's grave. This has become a common pastime for the children of Hawkins as they celebrate the end of racist Billy's reign of terror. It's a fun time to come by and spit on it, or kick it, or throw eggs or something.
The groundskeeper, who we have fan cast, is we never learned how to say it. It's been 3 years.
No, we did. It's Tyler Hoechlin.
I don't like that, though. He waves and smiles at them as they do this.
His name is Herrick Dale.
And he's not Derek Hale from Teen Wolf, because that would be copyright infringement, and we don't do that.
He is a legally distinct and original character.
He does not stop them from defacing Billy's grave, and in fact encourages it.
Billy used to drive around the graveyard in his bitchin' Camaro and do donuts and tear up the grass and break gravestones, so groundskeeper Herrickdale enjoys the camaraderie his death has brought to the town.
Billy Hargrove's grave is the first gender-neutral bathroom in Hawkins.
And it is the 5th tally on our list. A fun visit to racist Billy's grave.
On the opposite side of the cemetery where they bury war heroes, there is a large monument honoring the memory of Bob Newby.
He deserves it.
The most opposite of racist Billy you could.
Yeah, Billy's grave isn't even fully in the graveyard, it's in the outskirts. It's like
when you weren't baptized, they had to bury you on the outside of the fence?
Yeah, it's like just beyond the tree line. Will is happy to see his friends, and he enjoys throwing eggs and water balloons filled with pee at Billy's headstone as much as the next guy, but he seems distant. He sees groundskeeper Herrickdale's friendly wave and does the neck touch thing again.
Hopper enjoys her driving, and oh no, the car breaks down, and they immediately get into a very big fight about whose fault it is. Hopper won't let her call a mechanic because he's a strong man and he doesn't need help. He gets out to try to fix it, but it goes bad. He's like punching and kicking the car's engine, like trying to wrestle it into submission like a gator. I don't know, I'm still not on T. A joke that was funnier 3 years ago, for sure.
While he's trying to fix the engine, she finds a nearby payphone and gathers up all her loose change and calls everybody she knows, but nobody is willing or able to come pick them up. She calls like Karen Wheeler, she calls like Scott Clark, she calls the government number, she gives them the password, and is like, hey, yeah, no, it's not an upside down thing. Our car broke, can you come get us? And they say, ma'am, please never call this number ever again. I don't care if the apocalypse is happening, just don't call us again. And she says, yes, of course, I'm so sorry, and hangs up.
At the video store, Robin and Steve are stocking shelves and renting VHS tapes to annoying customers. Steve does little dances and lingers a lot on action movies with hot men on the covers. The manager guy hates them both. The kids come in to rent movies, and they all love Steve and Robin. Dustin asks if they're on for tomorrow, and Steve says, you know it! The manager tells him he can't keep letting this 13-year-old hang out in the store.
I'm 15, and I'm a paying customer.
You've never once paid for a movie. Dustin takes his stack of movies and leaves without paying.
Joyce and Hopper are still stuck on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, and Joyce has called everyone she can possibly think of. Hopper finally decrees the engine unfixable, and they are down to their last coin. They look at each other and sigh. They put it in, punch in the number. They wait while it rings. And Murray picks up and says, I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Jonathan goes back to the Wheelers' house in shame and asks if he can sleep there instead of in his car. He is not aware his siblings are in the house. Nancy opens the door and says, "No, of course he can't. Get out of here. She's got work in the morning."
Throughout the season, whenever we cut back to Nancy, we learn that as everyone else is finding out that they are an MLM, Nancy is joining one. She is selling cosmetics for Mary Kay and is a hashtag girl boss who is roping women into her pyramid scheme. She and Jonathan will barely interact the rest of the season.
Our sixth tally is a woman selling products over the phone.
Girl bosses.
We have a montage of Jonathan trying to find different places to sleep and getting kicked out of all those places.
He tries to crawl in a cardboard box behind a dumpster, but oh no, there's a rabid raccoon already living there and it hisses at him. He tries to hunker down inside the slide at the playground, but oh no, there's a rabid raccoon who hisses at him. He tries Castle Byers, but oh no, there's a rabid raccoon who hisses at him. Etc., etc., until he finally remembers Hopper's cabin.
He's able to make himself a terrible little nest in the still ruined remains of the cabin, and he settles in for the night.
Outside, a raccoon searches for shelter and remembers Hopper's cabin. It tries to creep inside, but Jonathan hisses at it, and it skitters away to look elsewhere. There is already a rabid raccoon living there. I have decided to count this as another tally, because what is Eddie Munson if not a rabid raccoon in search of shelter who hisses at them?
The kids have been having a movie night at Mike's house, and Elle and Max are leaving to continue their slumber party at Max's.
It's an all-week slumber party, baby. Spring break.
Spring break! Lucas and Dustin have already fallen asleep. Mike and Will crawl into their sleeping bags, which are next to each other. The TV is still on, and the flickering screen is the only light. Mike asks Will what's up with him and why he's acting like he doesn't really want to be there with them. He's afraid Will likes his new school better.
Will finally opens up to them and tells them that he thinks he's putting them all in danger by being there. He's been feeling the Mind Flayer's presence again. He explains that he's been having the same goosebumps he used to get, but now they happen all the time, like when he's at school or watching TV or sometimes at the arcade or sometimes when he watches Teen Wolf 1985 with his mom at home. He thinks that the Mind Flayer followed him to his new home and is still watching him, and he's brought it back to Hawkins with him.
Mike shuffles his sleeping bag closer until their faces are almost touching and takes Will's hand. He tells him that he shouldn't worry about it because he won't let anything happen to him. Will's eyes go wide and he tells Mike that he feels the Mind Flayer there, right now. Will is freaking out, so Mike wakes up Lucas and Dustin and tells them what Will told him. They all vow to protect him and figure out what the Mind Flayer's up to now.
Back to Joyce and Hopper, who are sitting on the hood of Joyce's car. It is late at night. They look up when they see headlights, and Murray pulls up in a large van. We've got a Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated van. He opens the door and grins. You called?
End of episode. We open on Murray's van. Specifically, we open on Hopper sitting in the middle of the row, and it's horrible for him. There's a lot of weird noises coming from the back of the van, but Murray won't let them look because that's his personal business and he's doing them a favor. He's also seemingly talking to himself, or perhaps someone he is keeping captive in the back of the van.
Half of what he says is in Russian. He answers no questions. Every so often there's a mechanical whirring and a slip of paper prints into the front of the van, and every time this happens he shoves Hopper out of the way to grab it. Then he reads it while driving, laughs, tosses it out the window, swerves wildly on the road. He's very bad at driving. Joyce and Hopper are growing more and more nervous. They realize Murray never said he was driving them back to Indiana.
Also, I don't know where else to put this, but Hopper's duffel bag is filled with nothing but fun shirts. So his wardrobe this season is one pair of shorts, one pair of cowboy boots, and a parade of fun button-downs.
I'm also going to count Murray and Joyce teaming up to bring Hopper home from Russia as another tally.
Yeah.
Cut to Jonathan, who starts getting very into his investigative journalism. He's cleared off a wall in the cabin to make a murder board. He gets one book from the library. It is very weird as he's checking it out. It's just a stack of random books and then one gay book to kind of slide in there so no one notices. He's also just standing, gripping a sink and looking at himself in the mirror a lot. The only thing pinned to his murder board is just a picture of the boy from photography class, and then across the wall he's written words like goosebumps, eye contact, hands, dreams?
Back to the Wheelers. The boys continue to question Will and try to make some theories which are comedic because we, the audience, know that he's just gay. They decide to compare it to other times that monsters have gone after Will, and they end up pulling out all his secret sketches. When they spread them out across the room, these many drawings of a boy turn into one large mosaic of a boy. We recognize him as the boy from Will's school. Will does not tell them this. They formulate the theory that this is the Mind Flayer's next victim.
Okay, I think it's a boy. Will, do you know who this is?
Never seen him.
Okay, I guess the Mind Flayer's targeting him.
I guess so.
This is sort of another thing we were right about.
Yeah, Will making secret gay art about a boy he likes.
Dustin is good and freaked out, but he still has to go to his playdate with his real best friend, Steve Harrington, so he leaves the boys behind.
Hope the Mind Flayer doesn't get you when I'm gone. And then he books it.
At the video store, Steve and Robin are discussing Indiana Jones 2, the movie they watched last night while blazing it up in Robin's parents' garage.
We, the audience, are to understand that this is what they do every night.
They're best friends.
And we're adding 2 characters who spend all their time blazing it and eating pizza as another point for us.
We gave it to the wrong characters, but it counts.
How are we to know that they would add our original character, Pizza Boy, to the canon?
It's the same character.
It's the same guy. So they talk for a while about how hot Kate Capshaw is in it, but Steve keeps slipping in comments about Harrison Ford, and Robin tries to gently continue down this path with some questions about how he might be feeling. And Steve gets really defensive about it.
Who hasn't had gay thoughts?
That was such a terrible movie, Steve. Like, it was really bad.
No, Robin, you don't understand. Harrison Ford is like an artist. He's amazing. When he's doing his performance, it's like, wow, I get goosebumps just watching it.
Okay, you just think he's hot.
What? No, I mean, yeah, he's an attractive man, but like how often he was shirtless just shows his dedication to the craft.
Dustin bursts in. He has clearly run the entire way. He is very sweaty. Dustin announces that he has news. Robin interrupts to say that they also have news. Steve has a crush on Harrison Ford.
These conversations continue simultaneously at a full sprint. Dustin has drawn connections between the way Steve talks about men and the way Will was talking about feeling. For a second, we are led to believe he understands that Will is actually just gay. But no, he starts yelling about the Mind Flayer. Oh my god, the Mind Flayer's back, but Steve's gay?
Oh my god, the Mind Flayer's back? What's going on?
Sometimes I get goosebumps when I watch him and my stomach drops and my palms get sweaty, alright? What about the Mind Flayer? Goes, ah! Goosebumps! Ah! The Mind Flayer's in Steve!
Robin does not know how to take any of this. Steve gets pulled into it shockingly easy, though.
Himbo writes,
Dustin says something really bad must be happening if it's getting in multiple people's heads now. Robin suggests that maybe Steve is just genuinely having these feelings. Dustin ignores this.
Don't worry, buddy. Nobody's gonna turn my friend gay. God, if Dustin had been like 5 minutes later, Robin might have made some real progress with this.
Yeah, they're not gonna listen to her if she tells them what's really happening at all. Back to the road trip.
Murray stops at a gas station. Joyce and Hopper get out to grab food because they ate all her mom purse snacks. While they're arguing because Hopper is trying to buy fistfuls of Slim Jims and Joyce wants trail mix and neither of them are capable of letting the other make an independent decision, Murray is filling up the tank.
Suddenly, Murray pops into the store and says they gotta go now. They throw money at the cashier and leave. He rushes them into the van and they speed away. They ask what's going on, but he does not answer because he is speeding. They yell at him, and he finally reveals that they're being followed. Joyce looks into the rearview mirror, and yep, they're being followed by government vans.
I had to borrow some equipment.
Borrowed?
I didn't tell them I was borrowing it.
Oh my god.
After a chase scene with a lot of evasive maneuvers, screaming, and back roads, they lose the government agents, and Joyce and Hopper demand that he fill them in. Hopper is still about 30% sure there's a kidnapped person in the back. Murray takes them around to the back and throws open the doors to reveal a mass of strange equipment in this weird mad scientist lab. He climbs in and they follow, looking in awe at the machines around them.
They cannot drag their eyes away from the huge vat of greenish liquid in which the unconscious and tastefully posed nude body of Alexei is floating. And they're like, Murray, what the fuck? Murray explains how he ended up here like this, and we see flashbacks as he narrates. He's directing like half of this explanation at the computer, and the computer is intermittently spitting out more pieces of paper.
We kind of get a picture of what's going on. We get a flashback to last season when Murray and Alexei had all of their little car conversations, and we find out that they had assumed Alexei would be killed, and they planned to use government resources to regrow his body and transfer his consciousness.
We see, like, when they were talking to each other in Russian, they were, like, secretly planning this out together, and also we see that at the end of the season, after Alexei was killed at the fair, Murray went back and tenderly took his glasses, and so that he could, first of all, just save his glasses for him, and then also take, when you put your glasses on and little pieces of hair get stuck in the hinges, so he was using that for DNA.
Hopper points at the machine spitting paper and asks what it is. A piece of paper prints out. Murray hands it to Hopper. In War Games text on the bottom of the screen we see, "It's Alexei!"
I love Alexei.
Me too.
Number 11 on the list of things we got weirdly right is high-speed chase running away from the government in a poorly driven van with a man's dead body in the back.
That is so specific, and yet somehow we were right.
Back at the Wheeler house, Mike tells Will that they won't let anything happen to him.
End of episode!
They're gonna keep him safe.
Keep him safe, keep him secure.
Jonathan is in the cabin surrounded by his research. Papers and photos are strewn all around him. Lawrence of Arabia is playing on the TV. It is clear he has not showered, slept, or changed his clothes in days. He's been surviving off of energy drinks and Slim Jims. He is surprised by a knock on the door. He goes to see if maybe another rabid raccoon found him. He answers it and finds Photography Boy leaning on the front porch, wearing a gay little outfit.
Photography Boy? What are you doing here?
I came to see you.
What do you mean?
I wanted to see you. I couldn't stop thinking about you, Jonathan. I just couldn't take my eyes off that portrait I took of you.
Jonathan stammers, unsure of what to say. He sits on the couch and the boy sits beside him. They talk for a moment and the boy moves closer. Jonathan doesn't pull away. Their hands touch. The boy kisses him, and Jonathan is surprised to find that he kisses back.
The boy whispers his name, and Jonathan pulls back, horrified by the sight of the Mind Flayer looming over him, wearing a gay little outfit. The Mind Flayer laughs at him as evil music swells around them. Ha ha ha!
Ha ha, he laughs.
Jonathan screams.
He wakes up, shirtless and covered in sweat, trying to catch his breath. This is not the first dream he's had of this nature, but it still leaves him shaken.
Another thing we got right! Homages to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Even if we were playing specifically with Nightmare on Elm Street 2 Freddy's Revenge, the gayest film in the series, it still counts. There was a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street in season 4.
Cut to the video store where Dustin is waiting for Steve and Robin to arrive to open. He tells them that he started thinking last night that maybe they can do some scientific experiments to see if the Mind Flayer is really making Steve gay. He has brought a clipboard and his backpack is overflowing with supplies. He has also brought a sack lunch.
Steve is reluctant, but willing to comply if it will help him prove Robin wrong. Robin is hoping that maybe this will at least help Steve do some kind of self-discovering, so she's just gonna let it happen. While Robin mans the front, Dustin ties Steve to a chair in the stockroom and starts pulling out the contents of his backpack. It's like a copy of Playgirl, various magazine clippings, comic book pages, etc.
I feel like we do need to note that it's not that Steve's like homophobic about this in any way. Just Robin cannot be right about something.
Yeah, because they're best
friends. She cannot be right about something. So Dustin holds up images and makes Steve rate how gay they make him feel on a scale of like 1 to 10. Steve asks where he got the Playgirl, and Dustin tells him he stole it from underneath his mom's bed. We see flashes of comic book women in bikinis with like very large lasers and monster trucks and little purses and sexy aliens and a sweaty basketball player and David Bowie as Steve calls out corresponding numbers.
He is taking this very seriously, as if he is at the eye doctor trying to get a new prescription. At one point, the manager walks in to ask why Steve hasn't restocked the horror section yet, to see Dustin holding up DVD.
Nope, because it's 1986.
Holding up VHS cases for Steve, still tied to a chair, to rate. He turns around and leaves.
how is one supposed to deal with this situation? Eventually, Dustin pulls out a Hawkins High yearbook and holds up Nancy's portrait. At this point, Robin has joined them in the back. Steve, for the first time, avoids answering. Robin and Dustin tease him until he gives a non-committal 6.
Then Dustin holds up a picture of Robin. Steve is absolutely scandalized, but Robin thinks it's very funny.
Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Steve, this is in the name of science.
Yeah, Steve, it's for science. Don't you want to know if you're gay or not?
Dustin clearly still thinks that Steve likes Robin because he is not picking up on any of the vibes here and demands that he answer. Robin joins him. Steve refuses and they boo.
Road trip! Joyce is on board with the general concept of what's happening here, but she is concerned about the government involvement and also if she will make it back to her children in time. Murray says there's no time frame for regrowing a human body in a vat. She asks how long he's been in a van running from the government. He does not want to answer. Hopper cannot understand anyone's motivations in this, and he is mad that he has to sit in the middle again.
He is not picking up on the vibes. Now that we know about the computer, Alexei, some of his printouts appear on the bottom of the screen as translated dialogue.
Mike and Will and Lucas are running around doing normal episode 4 type things. They're investigating, and there's like some homages to Fright Night. Look, those 2 men live together and they have only one bed.
It must be because one of them is the Mind Flayer.
Yes, and he does not sleep. That is why there's only one bed.
You know, stuff like that.
Jonathan goes to the video store. He is still a wreck. He looks like a rat that's about to explode. Robin just stares at him as he deposits his large stack of gay movies to return and then goes and collects another large stack of gay movies to rent.
His criteria is mainly limited to the covers of the movies. 2 or more men goes on the stack. He goes to check these out and Robin tries to talk to him. It does not go well. She examines every movie he has chosen, like, very thoroughly, and Jonathan just wants to take his movies and run away. He is still shaking like a purse dog.
At this point, Dustin's little curly head pops out of the back room and he asks if Robin has a copy of Cruising, because he wants to make Steve look at it. She tells him, yeah. Jonathan just checked it out, though. Jonathan wants to die. Hey, Jonathan, are you also researching how the Mind Flayer makes people gay?
The Mind Flayer can make people gay?
Yep, happened to Steve.
Jonathan, now looking even worse, looks to Robin for an explanation.
She just says, yeah, happened to me last summer. Jonathan makes a panicked noise and grabs his movies and runs. The bell chimes. Robin looks after him, wondering if maybe she should have done more to help this situation. I think there's something seriously wrong with that rat.
End of episode. Halfway through, baby.
Oh, now I'm supposed to have it.
Yeah, we gotta go get animals. Jonathan is in the cabin, which is in even more of a disarray. His murder board is filling out now, and he has watched every movie he rented back to back and took notes on each one. He is looking rough. He is dictating notes into a small cassette recorder, so we know that he's decided to go out into Hawkins and investigate if the Mind Flayer truly is turning people gay, and if so, how many have been affected.
He starts slinking around Hawkins with his camera, a pair of binoculars, and a moleskin notebook, searching for any sort of gay activity. He misunderstands what flagging is and how it works, and accidentally ends up following a group of Boy Scouts around for an afternoon.
Flagging is another thing we predicted.
He hides in bushes, trying to find cruising spots, and watches men interact at the grocery store. He is not subtle in his sleuthing at all, and nobody likes it.
Robin, Dustin, and Steve continue their tests to see how gay Steve is back at Robin's house. Dustin has decided they need to put Steve in the shoes of a gay man. Literally.
It's a makeover montage.
They raid Robin's wardrobe and her old box of dress-up clothes and dress him up like each member of the Village People, like a club twink, like a leather daddy. Booty shorts, Robin's 8th grade graduation dress, etc.
It's the fanciest dress she's bought in the last 10 years. Robin's parents,
who we have fan cast as Bert and Carol Hummel from Glee.
Yeah, not the actors, the characters.
They are not legally distinct at all, it's just them.
They walk in and They don't question what's happening at all, but they try to help. Robin's mom asks if they want to borrow some of her makeup, so Robin and Steve do each other's makeup, and it's real fun. Dustin feels kind of left out, so they drag him over and they put some glitter on him. It's fun. It's a very fun sequence.
They decide to pierce Steve's ear, but they have to call Erica to come over and do it for them. And when she gets there and asks what they're doing and why there's glitter everywhere, they start a very long, drawn-out explanation about how...
You know how some people like Care Bears, and some people like My Little Pony.
We're trying to figure out which way Steve swings.
Oh, you're trying to figure out if he's gay?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out if he's gay.
Oh, you need to pierce the left ear then. They use a sewing needle to pierce his left ear, and then remember that actually the right ear is the gay ear, so they have to do that one too. Steve cries a little, and Erica says something kind of homophobic about it. Yeah, I think he definitely likes Care Bears.
Robin's mom, Carol Hudson Hummel, lends them some of her earrings for him to wear.
They are all from Mary Kay.
At one point, they send Steve outside to put out the garbage because he has to do chores if he's going to be living in that garage, and... coincidentally, Jonathan is in the neighborhood trying to spy on Robin's neighbor, an elderly married man named John Water, and he sees Steve with his freshly pierced gay ears and gay little outfit covered in glitter and mascara, and his eyes widen.
It's true. The Mind Flayer's gotten hold of Steve.
They proceed to have that conversation for Malcolm in the Middle where they both think the other is gay.
Joyce, Hopper, Murray, and Alexi's body are still on a road trip, evading the government. Joyce keeps trying to call home to check in on her boy, but Nancy keeps clogging up the phone line with her pyramid scheme.
It's building to a point of tension.
Will has been getting more and more anxious, feeling as though he can't escape the Mind Flayer. Lucas is sleeping over with him and Mike so they can be ready when the Mind Flayer finally comes.
They tried to call and invite Dustin, but Nancy was on the phone.
Mike wakes up in the middle of the night to find Will sneaking out with a packed knapsack.
Mike stops him, and Will explains that he's running away because he feels responsible for all the deaths that have happened in Hawkins, and he thinks that if the Mind Flayer comes looking for him when he is in town, then more people will get hurt.
He's decided to run away, to live alone in the woods until the day that the Mind Flayer comes to kill him, or until his mom gets back to town. Whichever comes first.
Mike tells him no, because that's insane, but if Will's running away, then he's going with him. Lucas wakes up to tell them to shut the fuck up, and Mike tells him to pack a bag because the three of them are running away.
Until they die. Or until Will's mom comes back.
End of episode!
We start with an homage to Riverdale doing an homage to Stand By Me. Mike, Lucas, and Will are making a go of things in the woods. They are not the three most outdoorsy boys in the world, and they are not great at camping, but they manage to construct a small, shitty shelter.
Jonathan spots Mr. Clark at the grocery store and sees him acting and dressing like that, and decides that he must be a victim of the Mind Flayer. He focuses his stalking on him, and we cut back and forth a few times to the episode to Jonathan following him and casing his house. Eventually, Mr. Clark just walks outside and calls towards the bushes to ask Jonathan if he'd like to come in for a cup of coffee.
Jonathan accepts, and when they sit down to drink their coffee, Jonathan immediately starts asking questions and trying to explain that there's an evil force in town that's making people gay, and Mr. Clark very kindly explains that he's always been gay, and actually being gay is very cool and not evil, and Jonathan doesn't need to follow gay people around, and it's very concerning that Jonathan has so much repression that he thinks a demon must be possessing him and making him gay.
Jonathan still looks like a rabid raccoon at the end of this, and nobody really feels satisfied by the conversation. He goes back to the cabin and contemplates the murder board.
Dustin decides that it's time for Steve to start acting as a gay man. Now that they've done the research and he's figured out his cool new gay look, he makes Steve interact with men so that he can observe how he acts around them. They order a lot of pizza. Dustin isn't getting clear enough data, so towards the end of the episode, he runs out after Pizza Boy and holds up a $20 bill. Hey, next pizza you bring, this is all yours. All you gotta do is kiss that guy in there when you bring it.
Fuck it, I'm working for tips anyway. Sure, I'll kiss him.
Hey, but no grandma kisses. I'll be watching. If it's just a peck, I'll know.
Yeah, man, I'll rock his world. Jonathan goes home and watches Rocky Horror and cries, probably. Joyce finally gets through to the Wheeler house on the payphone they stop by, because Nancy is taking today to go door to door for Mary Kay.
Our 14th tally is the thing where Joyce can't call home to check on the kids because the phones are busy, but now she is finally getting through.
Karen, I've been trying to call for a few days. Is Will there?
Oh, sorry, the boys must have run off somewhere.
Oh, that's okay. How's he doing?
He's fine, I guess.
Do you guess or do you know?
I guess. I don't know. He's probably fine, Joyce.
When did you last see him?
Well, he was definitely here when you dropped him off. We both saw him then.
Okay, do you have any idea where he might be?
Who really ever knows with these kids?
Can you please find out?
Sure, let me just ask Ted. Hey, Ted, do you know where Will went off to?
Will's here?
Joyce screams and hangs up the phone.
She calls Max's mom, who quickly confirms that Ella's in her house accounted for at this very moment. So that's good. But Joyce is even more stressed about this trip than before, and she asks Murray if they can please speed this along because she has to go home right now and find her son, who is missing!
He seems extremely nervous and cagey about the whole business, and she's growing increasingly suspicious of why he won't give her a straight answer regarding timelines and government agents and all that. Eventually it comes out that Alexi's body has been ready for several weeks, and Murray is just too scared to transfer his consciousness over from the computer. Once he does that, it can't go back.
Yeah. Computer Alexi's better than no Alexi. They kick Hopper out while they talk, and Joyce talks about Bob and how scary it can be to lose someone you love. But Murray hasn't lost Alexi, and he has an amazing opportunity to live a full life with him, because as real as his relationship with the computer Alexi is, it's not a life that the two of them can share together. He needs to be brave and do this in this moment. And she tells him about another time in her life that she experienced loss. The first time her son went missing. He's missing! And they have to go find him right now because he might be dead.
Alexi tells Murray through the bottom text that he has understood why Murray's been so nervous up until now, and he was okay with giving him some time, but it's looking like it's now or never. And Murray pointedly doesn't start crying as he tells Joyce that she and Hopper are going to need to drive, or at least stay out of the lab, because he's going to get Alexi's body ready. And he gestures at the naked goopy body in the tub.
For a comedic break, we sit with Joyce and Hopper in the front as they drive, and in real time we hear Murray dragging something heavy, climbing up onto it, opening the vat, reaching in, hoisting the goopy body, trying to drag it over the edge of the vat. Ooh, slippery! Laying it down, cleaning it off. It's very uncomfortable, and Hopper keeps trying to ask questions, but Joyce's son is missing!
He's missing! Finally, we cut back to Murray in the back of the van, and he needs Joyce to be there for moral support, and he needs Hopper guarding the doors for him.
Just something for Hopper to do.
Yeah. Alexi's body is nice and clean, his hair is dry, Murray's put him in some clean clothes, and laid him out on the cot that he, Murray, has been sleeping on for the past however long. He's getting really worked up, and Alexi, the computer, keeps making reassuring computer noises.
We cut back and forth this entire scene with Jonathan, who is dozing off while watching Rocky Horror, so that Alexi getting transferred is undercut with "I can make you a man," and it's meaningful.
It's meaningful.
Murray goes to enter all the codes and flip all the switches, and we don't really get into how it works because I don't care. And the computer is talking to him the whole time, and as he's getting to the last couple of things, it starts beeping and making noises and lighting up, and he's asking, "Are you okay? Do we need to stop?" And Joyce goes, "Murray, maybe you should," and then all the lights start going absolutely crazy, and it's spitting out miles of blank paper, and the noises don't stop, and none of the keys are working, and we see like brief shots of Alexi's body like shaking on the cot, and Murray flips the last two switches, and we focus in on the computer suddenly going black and quiet, and it doesn't come back on.
The next morning, Murray is still sitting at Alexi's bedside, waiting for any sign of life from the body. He's breathing, but other than that, he's been asleep and unresponsive. Joyce and Hopper have been mostly just driving in silence, but they've gotten really off track, and Joyce can't figure out exactly where they are, and they're mostly just going off of signs on the highway. But then, through the rear view mirror, she sees the black government vans in the distance.
Government chase, where Joyce and Hopper get to be the ones to gun it and head out of there, but we cut to the back, as we see Murray fall to the floor off his little chair, and Alexi's body goes flying off the cot as Hopper takes a crazy turn. Joyce yells back to check on them, but there's no answer, and when we cut back to see them, we see that it's because as Murray is sitting up and looking around, so is Alexi, who is awake and alive.
Murray scrambles over to him on his knees as Alexei gets his bearings, and with shaking hands in this rattling van, still part of an insane car chase, he reaches into his breast pocket and pulls out Alexei's glasses.
We've seen him fiddling with them all season, and now he finally unfolds them and sets them, gently, crookedly, on Alexei's face. His hands stay there, framing the side of his face, and they have their first ever real kiss there in the back of the van, and probably smash their teeth in next time Hopper goes over a bump.
When Joyce and Hopper finally lose the feds, they pull over and jump out, heading around the back to check on the men because Murray never actually said he was okay, and Joyce is in a state where she's just fearing the worst. Terrified, she throws open the doors and reveals Murray and Alexei still kissing, a lot less gently now.
Hopper turns into the lady trying to do math, and Joyce is like, "Oh, cool, he's alive. We have to go find my son." And Alexei says something to Murray in Russian that we do not see translated, but Murray is immediately like, "Oh, yeah, good idea, and slams the van door shut.
Joyce and Hopper stare at each other. Hopper goes to throw open the doors again, but whatever he sees scandalizes him. Murray glances back at him and says, "Hey, if the labs are rockin', don't come a-knockin', Jim," and shuts it again. Hopper has to just go sit on the ground for a while.
Joyce yells through the doors that they have 20 minutes before she just starts driving away with them still back there because her son is missing!
She gently leads Hopper away from the van as he sputters, and she explains to him that sometimes gay people exist. And right now, they're existing in the back of the van.
Steve and Robin have to work today, and, as his other friends are all living in the woods and didn't call him, Dustin hangs out with them. He tried to call them on the walkie-talkie, but there hasn't been a response, and he's mildly worried, but still mostly focused on the gay Steve tests.
He's still taking notes on how Steve interacts with customers, but Steve has kind of gotten used to it now, and he's just kind of having fun. Groundskeeper Herrick Dale comes in to rent a few movies, and Steve flirts with him a little. When Dustin asks him to rank how it made him feel to flirt with a man on a scale of 1 to 10, it takes him a second to respond because he'd kind of forgotten about the tests and was just genuinely enjoying interacting with a handsome man.
He's a little bit thrown off by it, but ignores it. Robin does not ignore it, but she decides not to say anything. He needs to come to this conclusion by himself.
Out in the woods, the boys have decided to play a little D&D one-shot to pass the time and to help Will calm down because he's still very anxious about the Mind Flayer. It's getting later in the afternoon, and they've gotten kind of into the rhythm of the game. Mike is voicing an NPC who's talking to Will.
Mike describes this man, a handsome and flirtatious high elf, and Will touches the back of his neck absent-mindedly. Mike notices the movement in his brow furrows. He continues the conversation, flirting lightly with Will, who visibly stiffens. He continues, and Will says that he needs to stop because the Mind Flayer has found them.
Lucas springs up and points his wrist rocket into the bushes around him, readying himself for battle. Mike ignores them both and continues acting as the high elf man as Will grows more and more agitated and shouts at him to stop.
The bushes around them are rustling, and Lucas tells Mike to drop the game and help him. The rustling gets closer and closer, and the three of them freeze, staring as a creature emerges from between the trees.
Lucas shoots off a rock with his wrist rocket, hits the trunk of a tree, inches from a rabid raccoon who hisses at them and runs away. They all sit for a moment in silence.
The Mind Flayer isn't really back, is it, Will? Will stammers. He doesn't understand. Mike is trying to piece together all of the times Will has mentioned the Mind Flayer feeling, and Lucas keeps asking questions, trying to catch up with either of them.
Will begins to cry and, overwhelmed by his own repression, runs into the darkening woods. Mike and Lucas call after him and follow when he doesn't come back.
Dustin, Robin, and Steve go back to Robin's parents' garage after work to hang out and order pizza again. Robin and Steve don't know about Dustin's plan, so when Pizza Boy hands the pizza to Robin and then grabs Steve and plants one on him, they are left flabbergasted.
Steve holds his hands over his mouth and screams. Pizza Boy holds out his hand to Dustin, who reluctantly hands him a 20. Could have added a little more tongue, but it'll do.
The Pizza Boy leaves, and Dustin pulls out his clipboard to take notes.
Okay, so how would you rate that overall from 1 to 10? Like, was it better or worse than kissing Nancy? Did he have stubble? Did you have time to know how it felt to be held in his strong, masculine arms? Dustin, leave him alone. Steve, hey, let's take a breath, yeah? Steve, overwhelmed by it all, takes off running out the open garage door and into the night.
Hey, come back, we need to get this data while it's still fresh.
Steve, you don't have shoes on and you don't have your keys. Where are you going? It's dark.
Robin and Dustin look at each other and take off after him.
Nancy knocks on the door of Hopper's cabin to sell her pyramid scheme. And when Jonathan answers, she is horrified by the state of both him and the cabin. She pushes her way inside and berates him about all of it. He tries to defend himself, but mostly is just making it worse.
Suddenly, Steve bursts in, and the sight of Jonathan and Nancy on top of his gay kiss panic is too much for him to bear. He collapses into a chair and puts his head in his hands. Nancy and Jonathan look to each other as if one of them might have an explanation, but neither of them do.
Just then, Will, tear tracks running down his face, bursts through the door. He and Jonathan are both shocked to see each other. They did not know they were both in town. Robin and Dustin also burst in, having followed Steve. Mike and Lucas burst in, having followed Will. Everyone is yelling. Steve, it's okay if you like kissing men. A lot of people do.
What? Steve, you used to kiss Tommy H every time we went to a party and you got too drunk, and I never told anyone about it because you asked me not to, and I was a good girlfriend.
You got my mom sucked into a pyramid scheme.
My mom too.
Mine too.
Mine too.
Nancy came to our house.
You live together?
My parents think he's an at-risk gay teen.
They what? Why do they think that?
They met you. Why did you think they let you live in our garage for free?
Nancy couldn't read until she was 8. Mike's not really clear on what the argument's about.
At least I'm not creeping around in the bushes like a rabid raccoon taking stalker pictures of everyone.
At least I don't hang out with children.
He's 15.
I'm 15!
Mike made Will cry.
Steve likes to hold hands during sex.
You told him?
No!
She told everybody.
Mike went to bed until he was 11.
Nancy made me sleep in my car.
Why are you even here?
Why is Will even here? Will starts to cry again.
Jonathan made him cry. Jonathan made him cry.
The mind flayer made Steve gay.
And what's your excuse?
Sometimes people are just gay.
Wait, I think Will's gay.
Of course Will's gay.
What?
Wait, is everyone gay? I'm not gay! The mind flayer's gay! Joyce and Hopper walk in.
Oh god, everyone's gay now.
Let's back up for a moment.
End of episode. Truly the scene that we wanted to remake the whole video for. Everybody is sitting in a big circle on the floor. Joyce makes them go around and talk about their feelings. She has Will swaddled like a burrito tucked under her arm. She explains to all of them that sometimes people are gay, and that's okay, and there's nothing nefarious going on to cause it. So I'm just gay?
I'd give you like a 4 on the Kinsey scale.
Joyce is very gentle and answers all of their questions.
They hear shouting and commotion outside and they all run out to see Murray and Alexei, who had been kissing in the van, facing off with the government agents who have finally caught up with them. Joyce, Hopper, and Murray try to reason with them, but they are not having it. They pull out guns and threaten to shoot Alexei along with everyone else to protect all of their government science secrets.
Everyone is very afraid, until one of the gunmen's necks suddenly snaps. Everyone turns to see Elle, a small trickle of blood running from her nose, and her hand linked with Max's. She saw people pointing guns at her family, and she did not hesitate.
The government people realize that they are no match for this 15-year-old girl, and concede to take the van and its contents and leave. Joyce and Hopper hug Elle and ask how her week has been, and she says it was good. She and Max are girlfriends now. Everyone's very happy for her.
Through the whole season, we just get like, here they are at the skate park, here they are at the arcade, here they are reading teen magazines. Everything's going great with them.
Yeah, they just had a fun time.
They had a
this
good,
season.
normal, non-stop sleepover spring break baby.
Title card, 3 months later. It's the last day of school. Robin is graduating, and we are all so proud of her, but not as proud as Steve is. He picks her up from school with his car fully decorated like the most embarrassing soccer mom in the world. She pretends to be embarrassed by it, but you can tell she thinks it's nice. They're best friends.
Best friends. Jonathan is picking up his photography final, and Photography Boy asks if he's coming to the end of term party. Jonathan tells him no, he's got plans with his family. Photography Boy is disappointed and says maybe they should do something together some other time. Maybe just the two of them. Jonathan is surprised because he's still getting used to the concept of liking men, but he agrees. Photography Boy hands him a slip of paper with his landline number written on it and tells him to call him over the summer. And Jonathan promises that he will.
Joyce picks up Elle and Will from school, and that same group of girls from the beginning are devastated once again to say goodbye to Elle. But now there's 2 or 3 boys saying goodbye to Will too. Joyce and Hopper have rented a little van to pile Elle, Will, Max, Mike, Lucas, Dustin, Steve, Robin, and her graduation cap, Jonathan, Nancy, Murray, Alexi, and Mr. Clark into all at once. Together, they drive to the nearest gay bar, which is several hours away in like Indianapolis or Chicago or something.
When they go in, because they have special permission because it's a field trip.
Yeah, field trip rules.
Yeah, they're surprised to find the Mind Flayer sitting at the bar. He turns around, nods at them, and goes back to talking to the man he was talking to.
It turns out that the Mind Flayer was gay the entire time. It just had nothing to do with how gay everyone else is.
Cut to black, end of episode, end of series, no more Stranger Things!
Until we finish writing season 5, which is like 90% finished already.
Yes,
Insert quick clip of my dining room table right now. If you're real good at pausing and screenshotting, you can try and put together what's happening in season 5.
Put your theories below.
To recap all of the things that we got weirdly correct about Stranger Things season 4. 1. Last day before spring break is the first episode.
2. Steve drives Robin everywhere.
They're best friends. 3. New character who was a pizza delivery boy who was also commonly associated with smoking weed.
4. Picking up someone at the airport.
5. A visit to racist Billy's grave.
6. Someone using the phone for a girl boss job.
7. A rabid raccoon who hisses at them.
8. Murray and Joyce team up to bring Hopper home.
9. Will making secret gay art of a boy he has a crush on.
10. Blazing at and eating pizza.
11. Being chased by the government in a badly driven van with a dead body in the back.
12. Homages to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
13. Flagging.
14. Joyce can't call home because the phones are busy. And her son is missing!
He's missing.
A major plot point in
season 5. Yeah, a major
5.
plot point in season 5. So yeah, get very excited for season 5. Hopefully the next time Noah can visit, we're gonna film season 5. Wow, gang, wasn't that a pretty crazy spring break that we just had right now in August for the second time, the third time counting the actual season?
We know that Steve is bi. I understand this.
He wasn't clear on what was happening at any point.
No. We were just focusing on the men thing this time. All of our links should be in the description. That's all of our social media, our email contact, and our Patreon.
If you would like to help fund Noah's train rides to come here and film, since Noah is no longer living in my garage like Robin and Steve. In our links will be the official Hedgefrog Tumblr account, where I've been posting a lot about Stranger Things lately because of the hyperfixations, and also I will post like nice PNG files of all of my paper doll illustrations, so you can look at those in better quality. Bedtime, baby?
Bedtime, baby!
Bedtime, baby.
Bye!
Come and sit on our log. We'll have fun with Hedgefrog. Noah, Clover, Frog, and Hedge. You can be our new best friend. H-E-D-G-F-R-O-G. Hedgefrog on a wing.
Steve likes to hold hands during sex.
You told him?
No!
She told everybody. She told everything. She told everything. My voice keep cracking because it's so good. She told everybody.